The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show.
Today is Tuesday, March 8th, 2022. Thank you so much for joining us at the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show. As always, I am joined by Dr. Carl Mack as we discuss all of the issues of the day, including Black history. We cover a wide range of topics. Brother Mack, it's always good to see you. I appreciate you holding it down for us while I was gone last week. The world was turned upside down last week, to say the least. Good morning to you, brother.
Good morning, my brother. The world's always turned upside down, and I'm so glad that you're here to try to straighten this thing out for us.
No, that's a little too much credit for me. I'm going to do the best that I can do. And we also have, I want to bring in Brother Al Rutherford. He has been with you all last week. He's been here on the channel, and I'm very appreciative of him sharing his foreign policy expertise. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Ben. It's so good to have you back in the studio. Glad to be here. And Big Skillet, hello to you, too.
Big homie, what's happening? Hey, big homie, it just would be right if we didn't start this thing off with a little Black history moment. So check it out. Hey, Google, what happened on this day in Black history?
On March 8, 1825, military Dr. Alexander Thomas Augusta was born in Norfolk, Virginia. Denied admission to the University of Pennsylvania to study medicine, he was accepted at Trinity Medical College in Toronto, Canada. During the Civil War, Dr. Augusta was appointed surgeon to the United States Colored Troops, thus making him the first Black physician in the United States Army. He later became the first Black doctor to head a hospital in the United States, the Freedmen's Hospital in Washington, D.C. Adapted from Black Heritage Day 4 calendar by author, lecturer, and civil rights activist Dr. Carl Mack.
Big homie, that's where they got it right there, from Black Heritage Day.
Yes, indeed.
Well, good. Alexander
Brother Mack.
Augusta. Yes, sir.
Brother Mack, I was listening to you doing all the ad-libs in the background, but everything that you said was really true. It's the nature of how it's not surprising. It is history, but that thread, that tapestry of racism that has always prevented the excellence of Black people from being seen at the level that it should be seen at. Nothing's changed, has it?
Well, Ben, now that you brought it up, let's just roll into this conflict with Ukraine, because I got to tell you, Ben, I really got in my feelings Friday. I had a sister who watches the show religiously from Seattle, Sister Nassau, and Sister sent me an article, said, Brother Mack, have you seen this? Now, the article was about obviously the invasion of Ukraine by Russia and what is taking place in this moment of stress. The whole world is looking down on Ukraine, and we're extremely sympathetic about Ukraine, and we're vilifying Vladimir Putin, as we should, for invading him. But when I read, my visceral reaction to the article that she sent to me was that at the moment that Russia has its foot knee-deep into Ukraine, Ukraine has taken its foot and put it on the neck of Black folks in the midst of the evacuation. So now I send it over to Big Home. I said, Al, man, you got to calm me down, because right now I'm 90 hot. And so what it appeared, and Dwayne, I'm not sure if we have a clip of a CNN report where a sister from Cameroon, who has made her way into Ukraine, has basically described a situation that says, in the midst of the evacuation, when Black folks are trying to get on the train and the buses, they're telling us, no, we can't get on the train and buses. So
we have that clip.
I was pretty furious. Good. If we have that clip, let's play it.
We're on the platform where a lot of people are trying to get onto the trains, and these are people who are refugees who have come from Ukraine. And just as Ara was mentioning, these are people who are Ukrainians born and bred. These are people who are immigrants to Ukraine. There are students from places like Afghanistan and Cameroon, West Africa, you name it. There are people here from all over the place. It gives you some idea of like how people were living also in Ukraine. There were a lot of students who are trying to figure out what to do and how to get home. We have a firsthand account. Now, the person that Arwa spoke to was hearing that this was happening, so they didn't go see it for themselves. Naya says she experienced it herself. She is a mother who was trying to get on the train. There is a free train, and that's what everyone is trying to get on so they can leave Ukraine. And that free train had tons of people. She was noticing that, the Caucasian Ukrainians were able to get on very quickly, but when it came to her, they literally pushed her back and then pushed another woman, she said, back, and the woman fell back and hit her head. Both of them are black women with children. They were trying to explain that they should be able to get on like everyone else. Here's what else she said. She said, it's bad enough for us, but here's what's happening to black men.
All the black guys, no. There was one inside the train. They went inside the train and showed him gun. Walk out.
They put a gun to a black man's face.
I said, walk out. And he walked out because he was scared of guns.
So you're telling me that there is discrimination by the Ukrainians against black people?
Discrimination on the black people entering the train, the free train. They help their people. They do not want to help blacks.
She did not want her face shown. She was worried that there was going to be some more abuse or that she would be treated more poorly as she's trying to find where she can go. She said she cannot go back to Cameroon, that she's fled there for a reason. She's been in Ukraine with her husband and child for 10 years. Her child has a Ukrainian passport. But she says, look, I have seen this repeatedly over and over again, and it's very disturbing.
Wow. All right, 10 years in Ukraine.
Go ahead, brother.
No. I'm just saying 10 years with Ukraine, and she has a child there who has a passport, and that's still not enough. All those stories are really harrowing and disturbing, Brother Mac. And you called me with that on Friday. And honestly, with everything that we've been throwing behind our support with Ukraine, I'm not going to lie. To see the treatment of black people there not only deflated me, but also ticked me off, to be quite honest with you. So I'll yield to you.
Well, listen. There is no doubt that Brother Ben, I watched the wind come out of your sails because I know how much your spirit and heart was vested in it. And quite frankly, I think all of us were. When I called Big Homie, man, we went from wanting to discuss this thing and understand it to, just saying, look, now, hands off, man. If this is the way they're going to treat black folks, hands off. Now, as I got deeper into it, and so Dr. Patton, my spiritual advisor, called me up, Carl, you just can't turn your back on these people in Ukraine. I said, Doc, they're turning their back on us like that. So what do you want me to do? I said, Doc, there's a reason why they say blood is thicker than water. If your best friend gets in fight with a member of your family, well, whose side you think you're taking, right? So I get this. But now, because Doc had this concern, and Ben, I will tell you what else, Terrell Starr. Now Terrell is on the forefront. He's been in Ukraine for what? Since 2011 at least? He's a Fulbright scholar. So Doc calls me up, and Terrell is on MSNBC, and he's transporting this white family because this woman has cancer from one hospital to another. And in the midst of understanding about this racism, I'm looking at Terrell and saying to myself, this brother's a Fulbright scholar. He obviously understands what's going on. And I subsequently read an article about Terrell, a presentation he was given in 2011, talking about racism in Ukraine regarding black women. So I kept looking and I kept digging, and then Big Homie and I, we both kept reading a little bit more. And so Big Homie, before I get into what I found as a result of what I read, if you could just give us your perspective on this situation and based on what you've read.
Big Skillet, I'm pleased to do that. And I just come from a perspective of looking at things from right and wrong. And, I just call them like I see them, the balls and the strikes. And I think what is particularly troubling in this situation is that there are multiple reports coming from the ground that talk about the way in which people of color are being treated in the evacuation. It has been reported by, or was reported of young black men having difficulty, but not just young black men. There are reports of Indians having difficulty trying to get out, how they are being treated as well. So it is not just limited to the Africans, but it is, a broader situation. And I think we, have to look at this, as I said, in a broader context and look at the reporting that is taking place on Ukraine and some of the statements that have been made, because it seems like the priority was to get out, Ukrainians with money first. And, they were the ones who were able to flee, the fastest. And then it seems that you had, a hierarchy, so to speak,
that's right.
Middle Easterners, then Africans down the line. And I'm particularly troubled by a comment made by a Ukrainian official to the BBC News, where he says, it's very emotional for me because I see European people with blonde hair, blue eyes being killed, children being killed every day with Putin's missiles. Now, what we have to keep in mind is these very same missiles fell in Chechnya and Syria, but there was not the outrage that we see in the Ukrainian situation. And I believe that is because of the systemic and systematic dehumanization of Black and brown people. And this has affected the media coverage as well. When you have people saying, well, I can't believe this is taking place in Europe, or this is not Iraq or Afghanistan.
That's right.
This is a civilized country. This is not the third world. So it is that constant drumbeat of dehumanization of people of color. And I look at, and I have to bring our viewers' attention to another humanitarian crisis that is taking place, and that is the crisis in Yemen. There are 4 million displaced people that look like us, but we aren't getting that coverage. We're not hearing about that issue as nearly as much as we are hearing about what is going on in Ukraine.
Well, Brother Rutherford, if I could interject, the reason we don't hear about the war in Yemen is because of Saudi Arabia's role in it and the fact that we are trying to stay in good with Saudi Arabia. So, of course, America is going to turn a blind eye to the atrocities that we have our fingerprints on.
And Ben, just so you know why we try to stay in the good graces of Saudi Arabia, please remember the oil embargo of 73, huh?
Come on.
All of a sudden, Saudi Arabia felt like we had taken sides with Israel, and all of a sudden they just said, hey, tell you what, we had just cut off the oil supply to you. And that's when we saw those long lines of gasoline, and that's ultimately what led to the reserves. But getting back to this issue of racism, and Big Homie, you're absolutely correct. So now let me give the other side, because I was absolutely appalled at this situation. So as I read, and I must have read 5 or 6 articles, but one of the things that appeared to be universal in those articles is that the Black folk who went, especially a lot of the students, and a majority of these people appeared, of our ancestors, our brothers and sisters, appeared to be students. Now, the reason they went there is they said, but look, first of all, you get an extremely good education in Ukraine, and it's incredibly affordable. And then third, racism exists here, but nowhere near to the degree that it is in the United States. So, of course, as I'm reading this over and over and over again, I had to ask myself, okay, when she says that racism exists, can I think of one place that racism doesn't exist? As a matter of fact, can I think of one place that the world is perfect? And the answer is absolutely not. So in reading the accounts of these and we're talking about students who are going to Ukraine to become medical doctors, to become engineers, very high professional individuals. But they speak about Ukraine like, hey, man, this is a kind of cool in the gang kind of place. No overt racism to the degree that we have seen it in the United States. So then I got to thinking a little bit more with Terrell understanding the nature of and the beauty of that, brother. So now I looked at what they reported. And if I'm not mistaken, big homie, what they said in the evacuation is that they were evacuating women and children first. So as I looked at the videotape, that's the majority of what I saw. I didn't see white men trying to get on the train. I didn't see that. I saw women and children first. Then I started looking at, well, how many blacks are in Ukraine? Dr. Patton and I were searching. How many blacks? And maybe 10,000, right? So when I'm looking at the video, what they said, women and children first, that's what I'm seeing. So now I could say, well, now I could understand why black men are not being allowed on the train, because I'm not seeing white men get on the train either. And if by chance, as the sister described it, they pointed a gun at him, I got to believe that, look, man, if I'm in Ukraine and I'm trying to get out the nation because Russia's bearing down on me, I got my seat, I ain't moving. And probably the only way you're going to get me out of the seat is to put a gun to me. So maybe,
that's about right.
Maybe that's the situation. But I will say this. Big homie and I, we had no explanation for the way that the sisters was treated. So we said to the Ukrainian officials, y'all need to square that up. You know, obviously you got a place that appears to be somewhat welcoming to us, but you need to clear that up. Now let's move to the border. And Big homie, I want you to talk about what's going on at the border.
Well, the challenge that it is being reported that refugees are seeing is that if you are a person of color, it is harder for you to get into that receiving country. And let's understand that the passport rules, requirements, the visa rules and requirements, for example, for Poland, have been waived for Ukrainians. Okay. The idea is, hey, these people are having to flee. They may not have had to get there. They may not have been able to get their passport. So we're going to let them on in. However, when it comes to, again, people of color, they are far more stringent on allowing them into the country. Black folks, okay, brown folks, you know, are all of your papers in order? The delay and the wait time for them to get in is far longer. It is a much more difficult entry process for people who look like us. They will allow multitudes of Ukrainians in, and then they will look at 4 or 5 or 10.
Are you saying that the three of us, you, myself, and Ben Dixon, we still be standing in the border in the cold? Is that what you're saying?
Still standing outside in a cold, hopefully with a blanket over us.
Hopefully.
With the solution and all, with all the ideas, see, this is the thing, Brother Mac and Brother Rutherford, that drives me crazy about this moment is that whereas we, the three of us, this show, all of our shows, this network, we've been leaning in to throw solidarity behind Ukraine. It just dawned on me, white supremacy is so pitiful. We can't even save it from itself.
Right. And see, listen, I think all of us, you know, the three of us, I think many of the folks who are viewing this situation, we're extremely sympathetic to the big bully Putin coming in there, shooting missiles. I mean, damn, he's shooting missiles at nuclear power plants, for God's sake. I mean, the man is sitting right on the edge of insanity. So we absolutely understand that. But again, if you want to take a look at racism, and again, I was bringing racism from an American perspective. I will be absolutely honest. But what I read from all of these brilliant students is that, Carl, look, do not get it twisted. Racism in Ukraine ain't nothing like what's going on in the United States. We ain't got it like that. So they appear, you know, and I don't know how to say, I think where I struggle at being a big homie, I don't know how to say racism is okay. You know, it's nicer there. No, it's horrible everywhere. But certainly you have to say that to the degree that racism is in America, our folks in Ukraine certainly don't seem to have it that way. So you know, as Big Homie was saying, I get that the Ukrainian government has made a priority. Now, they made a priority. If they had simply made that priority based on sex and age, we'd have no issue. But somebody interjected race. And Big Homie, I can't remember the categories that you described, but somebody at that precise moment that they prioritize that interjected race?
Well, Big Skillet, let's first and foremost recognize that the United States of America has, without a doubt, perfected the crime of racism.
Come on.
Let's recognize that. And now we can talk about, the situation in Ukraine, the hierarchy that they established. It is not the based on my view and perspective, what is taking place in Ukraine is not at the level that we deal with in the United States on a daily basis. However, if you are that black man or that black woman or that Indian man or Indian woman or Pakistani, and you are trying to get out
of there,
that is at war, and these people are stopping you, then it's as bad as it can possibly get to you in that moment.
That's right. I get you. So again, even though, even in all of the research, I'm trying to figure out what is the black population in Ukraine. And at best, man, maybe, first of all, almost every article I read said that they did not have an accurate account, but they put it somewhere in the tens of thousands, 10,000, 15,000. But to your point, big homie, it doesn't matter the number. If that one person who was being detained was my mama or my daddy or one of y'all, my brothers, or anybody I don't know, it doesn't matter if I know him or not, because it could be me. So that is indeed the problem. So, what I say to you, Ben, is the next time we have a Ukrainian official on, we need to bring that issue up of the prioritization during the evacuation.
That's right. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And I do want to, with the minutes that we have left, I want to get both of you to chime in on the fact that the United States is now talking to Venezuela, considering softening relations with Venezuela to make up for the shock to the oil supply that is now coming as a result of all the sanctions on Russia for the invasion of Ukraine. Now, we do know the United States has not had pleasant relationships with Venezuela over the years, but, wartime makes for strange bedfellows. The United States has lambasted Venezuela, sanctioned Venezuela, attempted coups at times. But now it looks like we need Venezuela for their oil. I just want to get you to chime in on it, starting with you, Brother Rutherford, and then you, Dr. Matt.
Brother Ben, what is surprising to me is not that the U.S. is having a conversation with Venezuela, because I've always had a saying, and that is, you cannot have a rational discussion with your drug dealer. And let's understand that America's drug of choice is oil. Okay. And so I can't understand why the conversations to supplement a withdrawal of Russian oil and gas from the market is happening at this late stage. This seems to me a conversation that you would have had months ago, because that Russia is a Petro state. The vast majority of their income comes from oil. And in order to hit a man hard, you go after his wallet if you aren't going to hit him upside the head with a 2x4. So you have to think that just people with walking around sense would say, where can we get some more oil? Now, here's the thing. When you talk about making strange bedfellows, yes, we are talking to Venezuela in public. I would hazard to guess that we're talking to Iran in private. So, because
which I would be happy about that.
And the Saudis aren't talking about increasing output. So
that's right.
Look, if you're talking to Venezuela today, you was probably talking to Iran yesterday. It wouldn't surprise.
Talk to them all.
Ben, let me say this. I'm laughing because this brother is so well versed that I like the way he breaks it down. That big homie, I want to yield whatever time I got to you continuing on. I rest.
Go ahead, Brother Rutherford. He wants to give you his time. Go for it.
Well, Ben laid it out. He said politics and war make for strange bedfellows. And the guy that was your enemy yesterday could very well be your friend tomorrow. But I think that, at the end of the day, you are trying to come up with alternative resources so that the Europeans can get on board with the cutting off of oil and gas from Russia. Because when you look at it, we're getting about 1% of our overall supply from Russia. But the Europeans, especially Germany, gets the vast majority of their oil and gas, from Russia. So if you're going to get them on board and keep them on board, alternative supplies have to be brought in. And this is something that you got to do in the immediate. This is not a,
that's right,
long-term, 2, 3, 4 years down the line with different sources. You need that oil and gas right now. And because what we're seeing from a pricing standpoint, I've seen gas prices in some places as high as $5.50, almost $6 a gallon in the U.S. And if you have a restriction of supply, then that just means cost continues to go up. And that at some point has to affect the economy. It has to, lend towards a recessionary trajectory in both Europe and in the United States. So big homie, conversations about bringing that oil in have to take place.
But let me jump in on this because I don't want our viewers to think that all of a sudden America ain't got no oil around here. First of all, because of that embargo that took place in 73, 74, and OPEC, the Saudi nations just decided, let me just strangle you down. As a result of that, America decided I'll never get caught in that situation again. So America started putting together oil reserves. So America has almost 528, let's call it 550 to 600 billion barrels of oil in reserve. Let's call it a rainy day fund. That's number one. Number two.
You're talking about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, big homie. Now, the other thing I want people to understand is that little place down there where you living at, Holmes, because you're in Dallas, but if you go down there to West Texas, there's a tract of land called the Permian Basin. Now, I want you to know that the Permian Basin extends from West Texas all the way across to New Mexico. And the size of that, I want to say it's like 250 miles wide, 300 miles long. And this thing is supposed to be the largest oil reservoir in America. And I think it's second only to what's in Saudi Arabia. So see, all I'm saying to you now is capitalism is at play. It ain't like all of a sudden there's some oil shortage and we got to jack these prices up. No,
that's it.
These greedy son of a guns, knowing damn well we not in no situation that oil prices ought to be going up like that. But because some little conflict takes place, they decide to jack the oil up. Please believe, family, we are not in a situation. Let me say it. Trust and believe. We are not in a situation that oil ought to be, gas prices ought to be somewhere around $5.50. That's that capitalistic greed. Now, speaking of capitalistic greed, I want you to remember what Shell Oil was doing in the midst of Russia invading Ukraine in this very inhumane manner. Shell Oil took the opportunity to notice that Russian oil was extremely cheap and decided we're going to go in there and buy it. And then tried to tell people, well, but we going to use some of the profits for the folks in Ukraine. Now, family, let me say this.
For Mac.
Yeah.
Oh, finish that thought. I'm going to hold it there, but finish that thought.
They could make $1 billion and give $1 of the profits to Ukraine and say, well, we did share some of the profits with them. I'm just telling you, but there's been enough pressure put on them that now they're backing off of buying the oil from Russia.
Yes. Listen, we got to unpack that more because it's at the end of the day, it seems like it's price gouging. Rebecca Zor is going to talk about that. And like it or not, we have Senator Chevron Jones coming from the state of Florida at 9 a.m. And in the next break, we're going to come back with Georgia Ford on the clock. We've got a lot of miles to cover. The Benjamin Dixon Morning Show is just getting started. Into the hands of DJ Exclusive.
Pleasure seeing you, big homie.
Good seeing you.
Thank you, Brother Rutherford.
boy James Williams, DJ Exclusive, is in the building. Good morning to you all. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. We got more coming up next on the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show. Good morning, everybody. I'm looking like I'm stuck in the Matrix. I'm hoping that it resolve itself really soon.
Shawty swing my way. Left the X-Men, she was singing my way. No more fast ones, gotta leave the highway. No more fast ones, gotta leave the highway.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Laura. Esther, good morning. Trey, not Mary C. Anna Hart, good morning to y'all.
No more fast ones, gotta leave.
Sonny Wright. Roller Dragon, what's going on? Jason Marks, Tiger, what's going on?
No more fast ones, gotta leave.
Sailing LSU, good morning. Shout out Brother Lateef. What's going on, Brother Lateef? Juanita, good morning. Latino Promises Manifested. Miss Nuru, good morning. G-Man, Ear Hustler. Alicia, good morning. Kings and Queens, good morning to you. Robert Nichols, Blue Word on my shoulder, good morning. Environmental Coffee House, good morning to you.
Take my eye off you. Dim guy. Don't got nothing on you. Don't got nothing on you.
Good morning, Mama and Daddy. Love y'all, mean it.
Is ready for something.
Hollywood, good morning. Snack Panther, what's going on?
True love crime, I hope you know that it may hurt for a while. Let's slow down.
B-Day, good morning. Peter Griffin, what's up?
I can see
Craig T for real. Rachel Bannon, good morning.
Like go break, go break. Smooth like go break, go break. Your night like go your night like go break, like go break.
Brother Bryce, what's going on? Christopher Shaw, Chris Lionheart, good morning.
Like go break.
Amber Layla, good morning to you.
Ooh, driving dick, watch a movie. Right by your side on duty. Not too much, not too sweet. Ooh, passion from your street.
Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned, man. We got more coming next. Coming up next on the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show. On the clock is starting. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned.
Get through the storm together. Ooh, girls, make some room. I know you still, you're nice, sweet, smooth, like go break, go break. You're nice, sweet, smooth, like go break, go break. You're nice, like go, you're nice, like go break, like go break. Oh, you're nice, like go, you're nice, like go break.
Yeah, Miss Petro Benson, good morning to you.
Can't take the eye off you. My mind, yeah, in my mind, oh you. My mind can't take my mind off you. Baby, oh come be my lady. Oh give me a baby. Got me talking crazy. You're nice, sweet, smooth, like go break, go break. You're nice, sweet, smooth, like go.
Good morning to you.
Go break.
I started in radio. I found myself transitioning into news, and I personally feel like systematic racism played a role in me not being hired because of the type of stories I want to tell, because they're not palatable for mainstream audiences, because I pushed the envelope. I had to pivot because I refused to give up on my passion of telling stories. And so that's how I ended up in the lane of being independent and telling stories. Good morning. Good morning. Yes, what a great reintroduction and extension to our typical introduction that we have there. I'm independent journalist Georgia Fort, and right now I'm following the teacher strike that's happening in the city of Minneapolis. Right now, students pre-K through 12th grade do not have class because their teachers are on strike. We were anticipating actually that the neighboring city of St. Paul, which St. Paul, Minneapolis makes up the Twin Cities, as many people know it. But St. Paul actually reached a deal late last night with their teachers. But we can't say the same thing for Minneapolis. And so today begins. We have no idea how many days this is going to last. Hopefully, students will not be out of the classroom for too many days. But also, in the same breath, hopefully teachers get what they're asking for. What we've heard from educators is that they're looking for higher wages. They're looking for reduced class sizes, all very reasonable requests. Now, I want you guys to take a listen from a last ditch effort on Sunday when they were doing bargaining agreements, trying to come to some resolution. Take a listen.
MFT! We have your back! MFT! We have your back! A labor action is not a rally and it's not a protest. It is an action and it has risk. It has a risk. And one of the biggest risks is what we hear from other people who want to instill fear and uncertainty and doubt. You are going to hear them say, oh, we should be thinking about something else. Read the room. And I'm telling you, this fight for our kids and our colleagues is necessary.
Our family might not have made it without the love and support of the teachers and education professionals at South High who supported us and our kids through the pandemic, who were there for us when we didn't know what to do. Now our kids on track to graduate. We're good to go.
They're understaffed, overpopulated, underpaid. I know there's probably some apprehension in people, different things, strike can be scary, but stand together. Yes, that's the thing. The more of us that come together, the stronger we are. And standing strong on faith.
And know that our people are with us. Our communities are with us. Our kids are with us. Don't let them turn you around. Please don't let them turn you around. Hold the line.
MFT 59 on the line. MFT 59 on the line.
And MFT there stands for Minneapolis Federation of Teachers. Guys, in my opinion here, just give the educators what they're asking for. These are the professionals, the individuals who during the pandemic not only had to stay home and help their children, but also checked in every day online to try to do what they could to keep our children on track. To me, it doesn't make sense, but it's very telling of the state of the city of Minneapolis. Once again, the neighboring city of St. Paul came to some agreement here, but the city of Minneapolis still not giving teachers what they're asking for.
Georgia, I think what's happening in Minnesota is typical to what's happening in the United States. You compare how much money we spend on our military versus what we spend on education. And I think one could clearly understand that. And at the same breath, you got national officials, you got officials in Minneapolis who will tell you to their blue in the face that our most valued commodity is our children, how precious they are. Yet, you walk inside of a classroom and any teacher, you've been in that classroom, I know what it is to be in a classroom. You cannot adequately teach an overcrowded classroom. So the idea that you can reduce size, because I will tell you that when you go to some of the better schools in the world, you will find that a lot of those schools, many of them, have smaller classes so that you have a more intimate relationship with your teacher. And then again, if you're talking about the fact that our children are our most precious commodity, Sister Ford, well, first of all, let me say good morning to you. And second, I love the introduction. I love seeing your progression and maturation to where you are. And I'm so glad that you're independent. So I absolutely love that. But going back to it, if the educational system is, and our children are as valuable as they are, Sister Ford, you could not have said it any more plainer. Give the teachers what they want. As far as I'm concerned, teachers should be some of the most, they should be one of the highest paid professions in this country because of what's at stake. What is at stake? It ain't your present. It ain't your past. What those teachers are dealing with is our future. So pay them and pay them well.
That's right. Sister Ford, I just would echo everything that Brother Mack is saying. I was a teacher for years. The amount of work that teachers have to do is not commensurate with the pay, especially not if you're in the first 5 years of your teaching, 7 years. The red tape alone, let alone the lesson plans, let alone going home with bruises on you, breaking up fights. Mm-hmm. I mean, some of the best fights I ever got into were the ones where I had to sit there and break up and try to save students. And I'm going home with wondering why my face is sore. And I realized a couple of girls got some punches in because you're having to break up these fights. Listen, teachers are literally on the front lines of every aspect of our society. I do not know why police have a bigger budget than teachers when we are dealing. When I was a teacher, we dealt with some of the most dangerous situations imaginable, not only because children are acting out, but because when you're dealing with children who are in abject poverty, you're going to see all kinds of problems and dilemmas. And teachers are there on the front lines and they are not getting paid. So I'm with you. Give them what they are asking for.
Yes.
Yeah. And in addition to that, Ben, I think you bring up a very great point. You're talking about students behaving negatively or acting violently in the classroom or in the school setting. One of the things that Minneapolis educators have also asked for is additional mental health support. Can you imagine? Us as adults have been stressed, of course, throughout this pandemic with the government shutdowns, but yet we still have to pay all these bills, increase in rent, gas is going up, all of these different things. But imagine the mental health of our children throughout this entire pandemic, being isolated for months away from their friends, not being able to socialize, falling behind in school, seeing their parents stress, all of these different factors has definitely taken a toll on the mental health of our children. And we've even seen increase in suicide rates and other factors that are indicators that youth, the mental health of our youth is like we're in a crisis, right? And we need to offer additional support. And so I really commend Minneapolis educators for holding the line here, because they're not just asking for more money. They're also asking for conditions to improve the learning environment for our children, for all of our children, for their students. These aren't even biologically their children, but they're willing to step outside of the classroom, use their voice and their position to say, we have to do better for our students. And think about that. I mean, it's very commendable. It's honorable that they are even, putting their jobs, their own livelihood on the line to say that students need smaller classrooms in order to learn better. And and in this moment, we recognize that they need mental health support. And so, at the end of the day, they're not just advocating to get a fatter paycheck. They're advocating on behalf of all of our children.
Yeah. That's right. Georgia, you said that in the two cities, one city was able to deal with this union, its crisis, and the other city is still ongoing, correct? The only thing I would say to that is that I wish that the city in which a deal was struck, that they had simply said to them, yeah, our terms look good, but until you get my fellow brothers and sisters over in the other city, until they get right. See, then that would have forced city governments to now deal with one another to say, look, give them what they need. I just wish that they had to just held sway and say, no, we ain't going back into the classroom until our brothers and sisters in the next city get theirs. So that would be the only take on that.
And Georgia, the only other thing I was thinking about is St. Paul's so busy trying to get them no-knock warrants, they can't take care of their teachers. That's what I was thinking about. Yeah.
That's a whole nother issue. That we'll talk about on another day.
Yeah, I didn't mean to open up that can of worms, but when you said St. Paul got it taken care of and Minneapolis didn't, that just jumped out screaming. I know it's two totally different functions, but still the spirit is the same.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, the other thing I want to talk about this morning, as we continue to push the envelope about what independent media is capable of, right? I have been a guest, thanks to Ben, on the Roland Martin show. Ben, you were kind enough to do an introduction, and I've been a guest panelist. I've popped in and done reporting on some of these high-profile cases from time to time. You've been a guest on his show several times. I think Dr. Mack.
That's where I met Brother Mack. Yeah, that's where I met Dr. Mack. Yeah.
And so we love and support Roland Martin, and I was very disheartened when I saw the way that he was treated by Dan Abrams on News Nation, because, you know, as journalists, even if we are independent, we are still upholding the values of being accurate, of being balanced, right? That's right. When I saw the clip, because Roland posted it, and, you know, and Roland, sometimes he can call people out and stuff. And so I didn't watch the whole clip. I didn't fully understand it. But when I saw the National Association of Black Journalists issue a statement about the way he was treated, I realized I needed to go back and really pay attention to what happened. And I think our viewers need to understand also, as there's all of these new platforms popping up, all of these new news outlets popping up, that's right, promising to deliver on the truth in a way that mainstream media doesn't, right? Pay attention. And so what I want you guys to see is the way that News Nation, Dan Abrams specifically, treated our brother Roland Martin when they invited him on as a guest panelist to talk about President Biden's statement about defunding the police. Take a listen. Look at this.
So, Roland, what happened? I've seen that you have been tweeting out all cops should be fired, all cops should be prosecuted for murder. What's happening with you?
Well, what's happening with me was happening with the folks who are out there committing heinous acts.
And again, without getting anecdotal about case by case, because I agree, if cops engage in misconduct, they should be held accountable. What I'm concerned about is a guy with a reputation like yourself, longtime journalist. You've been in this business a long time. You've got a big name. You've got a big following. And you're out there saying all cops should be prosecuted. And I think that's dangerous.
No. Hold up. You forgot something. All cops doing what should be prosecuted?
To be fired was the first one. And then the second one was every cop should be prosecuted for murder.
In response to what?
It's not a response. It's your tweet. It was an original tweet. It wasn't a response to somebody else.
So the unfortunate thing was Roland Martin was in a studio where he didn't have a monitor. He couldn't even see what Dan was putting up on the screen. But what's even more unfortunate is that his tweets were totally taken out of context. Take a look at this next clip where Roland is able to actually go back and watch which tweets were put up on screen and juxtapose what Dan put up on screen with what was actually on his Twitter feed. Take a look.
This right here is the tweet that Dan posted. Every cop should be fired. This right here is the actual tweet. Every cop should be fired. What was it in reference to? This New York Times story. Jazima Goldring was walking in Atlanta with her friends when police officers arrested her for jaywalking and claimed there was cocaine inside her stress ball. They were wrong, a federal judge said. Now, after 5 months in jail, she's due $1.5 million. Dan said, I need to be specific. This is specific. This is called a quote tweet. Anybody who understands Twitter knows when you do a quote tweet, you are responding to the tweet. Dan Abrams has done quote tweets. He owns the website Mediaite. They have done stories on quote tweets. He showed this here. Every cop should be prosecuted for murder. That's what Dan ran on his show. What didn't Dan run on his show? This is the actual tweet. Every cop should be prosecuted for murder. What was I speaking about? This Al Jazeera Plus story where Minneapolis police released video of the police killing of Amir Locke during a no-knock raid. He was 22. Police shot Locke, who was black, 3 times as he lay on a couch under a blanket, saying he had a gun. Locke was not the target of the warrant and was a licensed gun owner, says family. That's what I was referring to. I was being extremely specific. What Dan's people did was they cut my tweet and posted it this way.
You know, and that type of sensationalism is what has got us to where we are today as a society, and with the current threat that we have against democracy. You know, that type of journalism discredits Black journalists like Roland Martin. And there's absolutely no reason why Roland should have to pull up a monitor and do an elementary side-by-side comparison of his tweets. But what else is he left with when here you have this white man on a platform trying to discredit yet another independent journalist?
But George, I will say this. The one thing that all of us know about Roland will always come with the receipts. Not sometimes. Roland always has his receipts. That's first and foremost. Second of all, I want to say to NABJ, I am so proud of you for writing a letter and standing in solidarity with Brother Martin. That's number 2. As a matter of fact, I think you ought to write another letter and another letter. And I think that all Black folk need to steer clear of Dan Abrams until he comes out and apologizes, because, Georgia, what you said is absolutely the truth. He was incredibly disingenuous. He knows how the Twitter world works. And instead, he wanted to do what America has always taught these little white boys to do. When you want to ride, if you just need a stepping stone, put your foot on the neck of a Black person and let that be the way that you just inch up just a little bit. America has taught you, Dan Abrams. It's taught you well, but trust and believe this, fam. We're not letting that brother roll. You want to come to Roland, come through all of us. But we see your little tricky ways. And you know damn well you was disingenuous.
Little tricky dicky. Yeah. And it was such a whack attempt. Like, it was a whack attempt at a gotcha moment because, one, like you said, Roland ain't the one. Roland be waiting for these opportunities. So Dan Abrams was like, Roland was like, please don't throw me in the briar patch. But so Dan Abrams walked into it for himself. But that just speaks to the level of incompetence that is allowed in journalism when you are a white man. Because let's be real, if one of us had made that mistake, because that's a journalistic mistake, and that shows a lack of journalism and journalistic integrity. I don't care if it was on purpose or not. Either one, it's either malpractice or it's malevolence. None of us can get away with that at any level, at any part. But this man has a whole organization behind him, and I did not know he owns Mediaite. I don't think we'll be using their content anymore.
Especially when Roland was saying, look, what was that tweet in relation to? And he would never, ever answer it. So you know he's being disingenuous. They absolutely know it. So mistake or not, take the mistake part out of it, man. It was as calculated as it could be. It was as calculated as it could be. And again, if there's one guy that you don't want to go to, and if you go to him, you better absolutely have every I dotted, every T crossed, because he always has his receipts. He demonstrated.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, to that point, Dr. Mack, when you think about Roland directly asking, what was that in response to? And Dan just said, it wasn't in response to anything. It was just a tweet. So you lied. You just flat out lied. And then the other thing is, think about the way that that made him look. You know, think about the way, like if I'm a white person and I don't know who Roland Martin is, I haven't followed him, and I'm watching this show and I'm meeting him for the first time, and you're a person who's now being accused of just these blanket tweets saying every cop should be prosecuted for murder,
That's right.
every cop should be fired. You sound like an activist. You sound like, you know, you are the president of a BLM chapter. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, because people who have just put those blanketed tweets out there have been responsible for making progress in some regards. But that's not Roland. And anybody who knows Roland knows that he's not just out here making those blanketed statements. He's not an activist. He's a journalist. He's a business executive. He owns his own network. And so to accuse him of using his platforms in that way, it would be journalistically irresponsible of him. And so the fact that Dan would lie to his audience, introduce Roland in this way.
That's right.
You know, it's just insulting to Black journalists all across this country. And it is, I think, a microcosm of what we're seeing other journalists do, other white platforms do, to try to discredit Black voices who are using journalism as a vehicle to expose injustices.
And Georgia, let me say this quickly. The thing that makes it so easy for these white boys to do this, the thing that makes it so incredibly easy, because the one thing that America has used as propaganda is the angry Black man. They can almost take Martin Luther King and turn him that way if folks didn't know. So if it's one area that America has perfected, it is going after that target known as the Black man, describing him in such a way. And that's what Dan Abrams and them white boys tried to do. That's what you tried to do. Why don't you come into the lion's den and deal with us? Deal with us on the Serengeti and let us chop this thing up, white boy.
Little Dan. Come on. Nah, we're joking, Georgia. Sorry.
Bring it to
we got out of pocket. Georgia got us on.
And come to us.
Georgia, we appreciate you as always.
Always.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure.
We'll be back with more of the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show after this. Like it or not, it's going down, y'all.
Mom and Dad were right when they told me this wouldn't be nothing.
Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned, man. Shout out to Georgia Ford.
Maybe get a
Lil Dan over there as well, too. Dan got some explaining to do, Dan. Dan, you got some explaining to do. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned, man. Shout out to Georgia Ford again on the clock, man. Make sure you stay tuned. Like it or not, it's coming up next with Rebecca Azor. She's in the building.
At night without seeing my dreams. Delusionary reality, I'm somewhere in between. These voices in my head get loud and they keep telling me that I'm a fool for trusting in these wings. But maybe, baby, this what flying feels like.
C-Horn, good morning to you.
Maybe this what flying feels like.
Shout out one of TL Country Boy. Brother Tyler is in the building as well, too. Real quick, we're going to get our new Patreon members. Read all. All right, new Patreon members, infinite content. Join the BPD Patreon. I would appreciate it.
Baby, all my exes just drinking themselves crazy tonight. Baby,
new Twitch subscribers, we have the Chicken Fried Dragon, who gifted a 6-month subscription to Stitching and Stilettos Gamers. Shout out to our sister who was on the show last week, man. Good time. Superfly Trans Guy, I love that man. We subscribed and they've been subscribed for a couple months. Boy gifted us a community subscription. And Old School Hype resubscribed and they have been subscribed for 6 months. Patreon.com/like or not, Patreon.com/the BPD Show. Patron party on Friday. You don't want to miss it. It's gonna go down. I might have a little surprise for y'all. Y'all see. Especially if you let the last patron party. You're gonna like this too. Anyway, man, y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. Like it or not, it starts next. This is Flying Feels Like by YWA. Flying Feels Like by YWA.
Maybe, baby, it's what flying feel like. Maybe, baby, this what flying feels like. Maybe, baby, it's what flying feels like.
Why she had to say it like that, though? Where else I'm gonna go? All right, y'all. What do you call a factory that makes okay products? What do you call a factory that makes okay products? A satisfactory.
I'ma need safety. Tell her I can't snake me. Ray gun off safety. My girl so tasty. Tell her it's your world. She want the two-tone spaceship. Blow smoke screen daily, so the stress don't faze me. I'm going. I keep it factual. I'm on sabbatical. I'm out in Central America. I need a break from hysteria. Park like the one with the carousel. I get it lit in your area. I'm locked to the vision. It couldn't be clear. You couldn't pay me to care enough. I dare you to hate me.
This is how I feel about my co-host and when I say my jokes. My co-workers laugh at my jokes in in-person meetings, but never in online meetings. When I asked them why, they said that my jokes weren't remotely funny. Y'all go to hell.
Red one, if I hold you down, I'ma keep
really, Rebecca?
Jet black when I paint the town. Only
just for you, you get the full extended version of Like It or Not. It's about to go down.
Y'all know what time it is. Good morning, y'all. Get your coffee and tea.
Oh, Lord, of course.
It's time for Like It or Not, y'all. 9 a.m. to 10:30, yeah. Like It or Not is on your channel, yeah. Politics and culture is we change.
Oh, my internet is giving real FAMU energy this morning, and I hate it.
Like It or Not with Queen.
Shout out to Florida A&M University and they poor internet.
It's going down. Like it or not, y'all stick around. Oh, Rebecca.
Oh my gosh, it's so bad I can't even hear nobody in the background.
You know she got a good story for you.
Latino, yes they would. Melanie Dennis, good morning. Nat A, good morning too. Roller Dragon, don't worry, yes. I have been in the studio working on some stuff. There may or may not be a Like It or Not remix coming.
TJ exclusive. Y'all know who I am. I stay dropping them jams. Like it or not, it's going down. Like it or not, y'all stick around. Oh, like it or not, it's starting now.
You stop. I better behave.
Like it
Lindy Butler, good morning. It's time, y'all.
To go down.
Let's go.
Like It or Not with Benjamin Dixon starts now.
Oh,
Good morning,
I don't really like this one.
Good morning, and welcome to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth.
And not care who doesn't like it. It's a little too close to my face. Could you just back it up a little bit? Or do I have to back up or move the camera back?
See, I've been leaning back a little.
Okay. Just a
Lean back, girls. They get all face.
There we go. Look at Rebecca. She's trying to get all this hair in the frame.
I need all of it. But it was giving Jimmy Neutron. Because you already got, I got a noggin. So, yeah.
Inspector Gadget head. Hey, sis.
What's going on? How are you doing? How are you guys this morning?
I'm good. Chilling. Without my microphone, y'all got to forgive me. I know I don't sound normal, but, y'all do. Y'all sound great. Y'all looking good over there. How's the weather?
I'll say that you sound better than you did last week. I feel like audio-wise. Not sure why.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And he was outside.
That's right. Yeah.
And I was outside. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty raggedy last week, but
I'm on at FAMU in their dorm room or something. That's
It's definitely giving. I see. And that's what I was saying. As you guys love to say, it's FAMU internet. It's crazy, right? I haven't heard you guys say anything about your own university, and I know why. Like, because there's nothing to say about it. But it's just always like FAMU this, FAMU that. I even stopped mentioning you guys' school name. I think I don't even mention your school name when I'm even mentioning the name because nobody cares. And here you guys always want to present FAMU in some kind of way. But at least, I will say, at least FAMU can, like, if you ask somebody if they're doing, like, you know, FAMU online courses, they'll tell you yes. You ask somebody if they're doing, what's your school's name? BCC. If they're doing courses online, they're going to say no because we don't have any
BCU.
internet. The internet connection doesn't work. Somebody ain't go to BCU. A lot of y'all started when it was BCC, but y'all don't want to talk about that. Y'all don't want to be real about that.
My degree say BCU, thank you.
How many members of the Marching 100 actually attend Tallahassee Community College?
Probably a lot of them. They probably co-op. They probably co-op from there to
99 of the 100.
Actually, they probably go to FSU, Tallahassee Community College, and FAMU. I myself, who was a proud Florida A&M Rattler, had to co-op for dance over there across the train tracks at the White School at FSU. You know what I'm saying? I had friends who also co-opted at TCC because there were programs that were just more affordable at TCC for those who didn't get the in-state tuition and things of that sort. So we could talk about it all day.
Those people who couldn't get into no, we're not going to talk about FAMU. We got Chevron Jones coming on. I don't know. It must be the fact that we got Chevron coming on. We always fall into that.
But what we can talk about for a second for story time is no, I'm not even going to tell you guys about my date. But I'm going to talk about how just 2 seconds because I don't think that's on the it's on the agenda. I haven't even looked at it. Sorry, David, but you know, I feel like my mental health has been going in a great direction these days because I've been in the house. Imagine working inside of an office in this time, in these last 2 years, and being just around people who could possibly be sick, anxiety, just just stress, and then on downtimes at the job. Your manager is walking around because there's a downtime at the job and they're telling you need to be doing something, but there's actually nothing to do. Now you have to look like you're doing something when there's nothing to do just to please your manager who was doing nothing but walking around telling you to do something. Remember that environment? Remember that one? And these last 2 years, for those of you who have been blessed to experience the work from home experience, you know that during the pandemic, that breakdown that you had, that mental breakdown that you had, that you are moving from, and maybe not 100% gone from, but you have, leveled out of. It's funny that if you were inside the office, do you think you would have made it? Let's also talk about this. A lot of these corporations profited billions, some trillions, some millions, in the whole time of the pandemic as their employees worked from home. Profited. And
didn't lose no money at all.
Nothing. Even when the employees were like, man, I don't even feel like working today. They came, because they didn't feel like working that day, they came back the next day well rested, ready to just take on the day the next day. And they gave you guys triple the work effort. And they gave you guys what you needed. And even then, it's not enough for America because they feel like they need to put your ankles in shackles. They feel like they need to have you in the building so that they can dictate what you do at every moment, because that's the sign of a hardworking American. They need to watch you, monitor you, make sure you're under their watch, make sure you're literally in a building that's just sitting there. Doesn't really need you, but just sitting there. They need to need you in that building. All that time that they told us that we were not able to work, we were not allowed to work from home. Remember that? Remember that? It was a specialty. The tenured employees who've been there for 10 plus years, they finally were able to get the option of working from home. Finally, we realized, okay, when we started working from home, we thought it was going to be difficult. Lo and behold, they had the money to start sending out equipment. Two monitors, a whole laptop. They did that. They had that money. All that time, we just thought they couldn't afford to send us home, or it was for tenured people, or you had to be a certain kind of, on a certain kind of position. The whole time, everybody's position, most of people's positions, were able to transfer to work from home and still get the work done. But now, our beloved President Joe Biden, and I'm not saying that in a trailer park trash. I'm just kidding. I'm not saying that in the American flag waving F-150, I hate Biden, he's not really the president, conspiracy theorist type of way. But our beloved President Joe Biden is telling us that we need to move America forward in this particular moment and start removing ourselves from the work from home environment. That's like giving, that's like telling black folks they got time off. We gonna use that to the best of our ability. That's like telling us you gave us another week of sick pay. We're gonna use that to the best of our ability. And then you tell us the next year that we come, we don't get none of that. We're gonna leave the job just because you guys gave us this. We saw how great it was over here. And now you're telling us that we not getting it no more. I'm going to another job that offers this because I experienced something better. I experienced something greater. So I just say this to say, there are so many things that go into working from home, the benefits of it. People were able to get closer to their kids. People were able to relax. People were able to sleep. People were able to start going to therapy sessions. People were able to cook. People were able to know what their kids' names were and what they like to eat. Get to know their husbands and wives and partners, all of the above. Those things were happening. They were able to sit with themselves and what has been hurting them these past 2 years and figure out what works for them. People were able to tap into their health, get that together. People were finally checking in with, their parents and their other family members because they had the downtime. People were actually studying for things that they wanted to do in their careers, like outside of working for the corporate world. So much has happened in that 2 years that have stressed us out, but we can't lie. Working from home environment, for those of us, there are some that wanted to go back into the office. Good for you. But for a lot of us who have been working in these office type environments for so long, under the thumb of corporate people who have trained supervisors and managers to be evil to the employees and make us feel like we need them and they don't need us. We're excited to be at home. We're excited to use our at-home time to go to brunch. We're excited to use our at-home time to go get our cars fixed instead of going to work, not knowing if your car gonna break down because you can't get an appointment until Saturday, because if you miss work today, you may be fired. A lot of us know these scenarios. We know them in so many different ways. But working from home has benefited us in so many different ways. It's helped us. So President Joe Biden,
I want you to go back to work. Go to the office. He's not the only one. Mayor Eric Adams in New York, he's trying to push everyone to go back. We're social creatures, he said. They want us to get back in these rooms. People get more COVID. People's mental health go to trash, all so that we can spend money on gas. Also that we could spend money eating out. Also that we could spend money in their little raggedy vending machines. There's just too much money tied up, too much capitalism tied up into us going into their little offices for them to let us stay at home. So now Biden and all the rest of the Democrats and Republicans, all the elite who make money off of this, say, get your ass back to work. To the office, no less.
Especially when he made that statement of, we're going to take the mask down so people can start going back in office. Joe, who gave you that authority to say that we going back in office? Joe, you Joe today. You ain't President Joe Biden. President Biden, you Joe. Joe. We did it, Joe. No, you didn't.
We did it, Joe.
We going back in there. Not when gas is $4 a gallon. I said I was going back in office yesterday when I saw them gas prices went up. I said, oh, man,
I said the devil is a liar. Shoot, I'm barely going to drive to the grocery store.
President Joe Biden is alive. Let me stop.
The spirit of JB with them Ray Charles glasses is a lie. I need you to
What's
take
that man's middle name?
Really see what's going on. You need to see you need to hear what the people are saying. And this is what I'm saying. You're getting it wrong. And people were saying it's not that he doesn't know. He does know. I mean, how can he not, right? And he's just choosing and deciding that this is more of the American way. But if we look at the people who are being, especially now, if we're looking at, and I had this conversation with you yesterday on the phone, Ben. If we're looking at the, the gas prices, right? We're looking at how they are. You say we're paying $4 a gallon. Yesterday on the Rising, said that he said he paid $45. I was like, $45? I wish. Because when I look at my tank and it's going up and up and up and up past 35, I want to stop right there. But I don't know what it's going to look like tomorrow. I don't know if gas is going to go up another 50 cents and we at $4.55. I do 93 on the pump. People don't understand how, but it's just I do 93 on the pump.
Okay? You fancy.
And it sucks because...
Right, Ben. 89.
89, 87. Boy, we talking about 89. Give me 87.
Oh, shit. 87. Excuse me.
So I, it's hard out here for the people that have to put in 93 and things like that. But at the same time, it's like, I'm thinking about people in LA who are paying $7, right? But here's the thing. Let's focus on this. Y'all want us to come back into the office on E. I remember I used to do that a lot. Ben, you are a witness to what my gas tank was looking like a few years ago. Riding miles and miles away, riding on a prayer, okay? Not F for fueled up, but F for faith. Because I was riding on faith. But, these jobs want us to get into our cars during this time, because if y'all don't want to mention that there's a pandemic anymore, cool. All right, let's talk about the gas prices. A lot of times we're living in areas where there's no transportation. There's no public transportation available to every city. So people are having to commute hours to get to work. People are having to wake up 2 hours before work, head out, and then they're stuck in possible traffic. You don't know what it's going to look like, especially in Atlanta or big cities like LA or down in Miami. These things are happening constantly. There is going to be no way that while the gas prices are going up, I'm going to try to call Bubba to come pick me up all the way where I live so that we can trek over to the office together. It makes no sense. Right. I don't have over where I stay at, there is no true public transportation. I'll have to take it from this bus to take it to that train station, now to take it to a shuttle to take it to the office. I will never make it to work. So are you guys going to pay for that for me? No. Also, if the gas prices are going up and our wages are staying the same, what does that look like? If it's real American of you guys to send us into the office right now, I can't afford it because I'm going to choose food first. Yes, I am. I'm going to choose food first before I go ahead and get some gas. So let's be honest. Let's be real. It's not affordable also. If you don't want to talk about the pandemic, how it's not safe to be back in the office, it's not affordable for us to go back into the office. Give us that money. Add them extra dollars and cents to our paychecks.
But the whole point is to get that last. So anyway, I was in an economics course. I don't know what year, what level. I just remember there being an economics course where they taught us the principle of the last dollar. And we trained ourselves in economics to consider how do we get the last dollar out of the consumer. So the whole point, this entire economic system, the whole reason Joe Biden is trying to push everyone back is to get that last little $50, last little 50 cents you had left over. Because remember at the beginning of the pandemic, we all had a little extra change because we weren't going out spending all that money on gas, because we weren't going out spending all that money on fast food. We weren't going out spending all that money getting the ticket. All that money is lost revenue for some greedy pigs who now have the ear of Joe Biden saying, let's get these cats back to work because we need that cash. We need that last dollar.
Yep. Absolutely right, Ben.
That's
absolutely
it right there.
Right. Because at the beginning of all of this, you really think about it, gas was so damn low, almost $2.50 a gallon at one point. So gas was very low. And here it is now. Y'all driving everything back up and y'all try to blame it on the war. What is the war in Ukraine and with war Russia and Ukraine got to do with our gas prices going up, skyrocketing?
Please inform us.
That's a great question. That's a great question, James. Rebecca.
Yeah, no, because yesterday we had this conversation on Rising. I kept, because they were trying to make it a thing, and I'm like, y'all, let's be honest. maybe 2 years ago, I had, I was getting gas and I didn't pay this much, but I did see after the fact, we didn't even know anything about Russia and Ukraine at the time. We didn't know a thing. The world, we didn't acknowledge it. There was something brewing over there, but that wasn't none of our business at the time. We was focused on the panoramic. Right. Remember, we were focused on white folks going outside and attacking essential workers to go get their roots dyed. The gas prices were going up, right up in there. But we were still getting gas. We were still doing what needed to be done, but gas prices were going up. So now these big oil companies, these big fuel companies like BP and Shell and all these people, they're saying after making billions of dollars and profiting in the last 2 years, they profited billions of dollars. So they got money. But they're saying because of the war, and they profited during the pandemic on us and getting gas, fuel, all these big fuel companies. But they're saying because of the war, we got to tax y'all a little bit more. So, and here's the thing, you guys, the numbers don't lie. Sometimes they do, though, depending on who's reporting. But the numbers don't lie. We only get fuel. We only depend on 1% of fuel from Russia. And us cutting that off shouldn't be such a, oh, my goodness, we're going to start paying $1 more in gas.
$2 more, $3 more. Like, Jesus Christ.
So now we're looking at this, and we have to start having the conversation about greed, exploitation, price gouging. Let's start talking about that, because that's the real issue at hand. And when things start to go bad, a lot of these big corporations, they start digging in our pockets. We already ain't got nothing. We giving all that we want to give to go and say, okay, Ukraine, here you go. Russia, stop messing with them. What can we do for the people of Ukraine and the people of Russia who are suffering from this whole thing? What can we do for the people right now? We're giving our last. And they're saying we're going to take more on top of that because of what's going on. That 1% is an inconvenience to us, even though these big companies, these big fuel companies could tap in and say, you know what, we're going to put a stop on this. We're going to make sure we have the power to do that and make sure the American people at this time will not be affected by something. So that's actually minute when it comes to, us importing or getting fuel from Russia. We're going to make sure that the American people are taken care of in this particular time. They could do that, but they chose not to. They chose to start taxing us more. It's greedy. Making us pay more. Greed.
They are a cancer. They are a virus. The rich, the greedy. It doesn't mean just because you're rich doesn't mean you're greedy, but there's a really tight correlation between the two. It's more difficult for a rich man to pass through the eye of a camel than to get to the kingdom of heaven, right? That's what the Bible says. We are dealing with people who are so greedy and so committed to their insatiable desire for more that they will watch people die in this pandemic. They don't care that putting people back into the offices will get more people killed, because they didn't care that putting our kids back in school was going to get some of our kids killed, because they didn't care that, us shutting down the restaurants could have saved some lives. They didn't care because they had to make that money. And so all these people who have decidedly put human life below their greed, you are a cancer to civilization. That's it.
Period. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you're not going to find...
I don't know how to start it off anymore.
It's okay. It was good. At the end of the day, you're not going to find me. I don't think you're going to find anyone like really devoting the gas that we got for a job that we don't want to be at after we done been free for 2 years. It's laughable. It's like, no, I'm going to brunch.
I email you.
And I'm not going to brunch in Atlanta no more. They're not going to find me because it's expensive. I'm going to brunch actually where I live. I'm going to brunch right here up the street. I'm going to go sit with the whites, and we're going to have a good little time. Period.
You stupid.
Right. Hey, we got Sharon Jones coming up.
Actually, no, we do not.
Unfortunately. Let me look at Slack then. Let me be quiet and look at Slack. All right.
Because I was ready to start the floor to 8.
Y'all is tripping. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. Got one coming up on Like It or Not, y'all. We're going to take a quick break and we shall return momentarily. Yeah, because you would have saw this break coming up too.
Number 9, diamonds in my teeth, I got a lot of shine. Running up the numbers, that's a lot of crime.
married to that man. Mara Sharice, good morning.
Feel like I'm at the tippy top of my game, looking down at the rafters. I had to son these boys, can't leave them bastards. A lot of dudes, just some undercover actress. I don't fall for it, I'm privy to all your tactics. Yeah, so try again, this time take a vitamin. Yeah, invite them in, welcome to the Lion's Den. And I'm Mufasa, big boss in charge of. Coming in like a bull, you see me raising the stock up. Yeah, so baby, you gon' need some patience. I already won, now I'm just making a statement. Damn, baby, why your mans keep hating? You asking about the cake, you here for the celebrations. And I ain't fishing, I ain't really into baiting. I know they all wish I take away they made it, but sorry I'm taking me and my lady mating. She look me in the eyes and tell me how much she loving on my confidence. Yeah, it really shouldn't be no arguments, cause you're now viewing the greatest of all time, saying I can't get better. I promise they all lying on my confidence. Yeah, that's right. Look, I think it's time you start using your common sense. Everybody watch out, cause the bomb is lit. I got that confidence, that's right. Confidence, yeah. Confidence. That's me. Hold up. Yeah. I'm sorry if I stutter. Yeah, my brain move a little faster than others. Yeah, I even keep a close eye on my brothers, cause sometimes it's your blood that turn into blood suckers. Yeah.
Man, I got tired of being judged for going bald. So I went out and bought a cheap wig. It was a small price to pay.
Come up missing, I blame it on my confidence. Yeah, promise I'm really this astonishing. And yeah, you're now viewing the greatest of all time. No need for thank yous, the pleasure is all mine. That's my confidence. Yeah, that's right. No downplaying my accomplishments. You tell me arrogant, I take it as a compliment.
All right, y'all, I think we are ready to come back. Yes, Dwayne. Yes.
Confident. Come on now.
Yeah, let's start. Oh, okay. Welcome back, y'all. Rebecca and Ben.
Welcome back, everybody. Confidence. Who's that? I love that track. That's dope. Who's the artist?
Big Mood.
I'm about to look that up after the show today.
Right.
The horns. It's the horns for me.
Definitely.
Well, there was a lot in that interstitial. There's a lot of stories that the sister from the NBA. There's just the commercial break. Sorry. When a new word gets stuck in my head, it gets stuck there until I say it enough times.
I'm like, why would you just drop that word and just move forward like that?
I mean, I picked it up about a month ago.
What word was it? I even missed it too.
Interstitial. I picked it up about 3 months ago. Yeah, I picked it up from some.
So now you got to start practicing it here. Like,
well, you gotta slide it in there until
just like that word negus.
Yeah, be careful with that one.
Negus. Can you use it in a sentence?
Did y'all see the Medea movie? Now, I don't do Medea movies like that anymore, but, I said, let me watch this and see if it's funny. So I let it play, and I'm just doing little things, but I found myself,
right.
Just crack it up, right? Just crack it up. And then he had this part in it where there was a person who was clear, who said something like negus, but it wasn't that. It was like a different word. And the uncle, you all know the uncle, was like, oh no, what she just said, and she kept repeating, oh, knickers, like Nickelback.
Knickers. Oh.
And that,
no.
Like, hell no.
Oh man.
She said, and they were ready to whoop. But there are words because of what they sound like. You're gonna think somebody said something else, and it's just like in our blood to be like, what that person. I feel like
what'd you say?
What'd you say? Yeah, it gets crazy.
Wait a minute. Do you remember the episode of South Park, the Wheel of Fortune episode, James, where they were trying to spell out naggers and Cartman? Okay, I digress.
That should not be funny to us. That should not be funny. But it'd be like, Lo, say that. They gonna say, we gonna wait till y'all push it. But it's funny. It's funny at the same time.
But it is a cartoon. Don't try that in real life now. Don't try that. It's a cartoon.
Anywho. Speaking of racism. Speaking of racism, Russia is out there holding hostage our people. So
now hold on, yeah.
Brittney Griner, who is a two-time Olympic champion, she was detained in Russia on drug charges. She actually plays basketball for Russia as well. Now, hundreds of strangers have now joined the effort as U.S.-Russian tensions escalate amid the invasion of Ukraine. Griner is 31. She's a championship-winning player with the WNBA's Phoenix Mercury and spends her off seasons playing for the Russian team UMMC Ekaterinburg.
Ungrateful bastards.
Mm-hmm. The Russian Federal Customs Service said an American at the airport was carrying hash oil. Russia's Interfax news agency quoted a statement from the Customs Service, which did not identify the traveler by name at the time. As a U.S. citizen was passing through the Green Channel at the airport upon arriving from New York, a working dog from the airport customs K-9 department detected the possible presence of a narcotic substance in the accompanying luggage. The custom inspection of the hand luggage being carried by the U.S. citizen, Brittney Griner, confirmed the presence of vapes. Vapes with specifically smelling liquid. And an expert determined that the liquid was cannabis oil, hash oil, which is a narcotic substance. I think there is a lot of things that are a little iffy about this story. Brittney Griner, who
I need some details.
Who she plays for them. She runs. This is years she's been playing for them. She goes to them on her off seasons here, and she knows the customs. She knows what to bring in. This is normality for her. So you can't tell me right before, and she's been in, and she hasn't. This is not news that they broke instantly. She's been in, I think, for a few weeks now, and now this news has just hit for media, and they've been holding this. It's almost like they've been holding this to see what America was going to do during this particular war. And this is my opinion and my opinion only. It's almost like they wanted to see what America was going to do during the war so that they can throw out and say, we got something that you won't.
Oh, don't play that game now.
We got a prize possession.
It's going to be, right. And that's what I was about to say. It's almost like they're trying to use her as a bargaining chip or something just to hold over us to maybe like get their way. And I'm just like, this is ridiculous.
All right, so hold on. I'm gonna play devil's advocate with y'all real quick.
You always do.
No, because I watch a lot of Locked Up Abroad, and I've seen black, white, purple, all kind of people end up in some Russian, Cuban, whatever out of the country jail for months at a time for narcotics or carrying drugs through the airport or trying to smuggle stuff.
But can we qualify that though?
Go ahead.
What kind of narcotics? I mean, because I don't want to just hash. Hash oil. Like, did it have THC in it? Like, what kind of rules they got? Because hash oil don't do nothing over here.
Well, no, that's not true. So even in the States, it's a different charge for hash oil and like wax than it is for regular weed, and I know that firsthand. So I mean, yes, maybe they could have got her out of there sooner or get her back sooner, but the initial premise of why she's locked up, she can't blame nobody but herself.
It's valid. So no. So I have to just, I'm going to play the other side of devil's advocate, the angel. Listen to me. Even in the United States, we fight the same argument. We fight the same fight. People are in jail for weed.
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying? So we're talking about vapes. People out there do vapes all the time. People, all over do vapes all the time. So, she's been going there. She knows what to bring through customs. So for them to hold her, first of all, I mean, I get it's been weeks. The media is just now getting attention to it. And I'm pretty sure we would have done something sooner if we would have gotten that information. I feel like they're doing this on purpose. They have the powers to let her go. She plays for them. They have, you know what I'm saying? But they're doing extra, and there has to be a reason behind it. I understand that she broke the law and, for whatever reason. But I'm pretty sure this is not her first time in this rodeo. Bringing that.
I agree with you on that. Maybe this is her first time getting caught. So I agree with you on what you're saying, but the initial reason for why she's in this situation, you can't blame nobody for that. But that's just like me saying just thinking about anybody that get caught doing something stupid at the airport, like the rappers that get caught with a gun in their bag at the airport. Are we saying?
Come on, man.
You know what I mean? Different stuff. It's just little. You know the law.
Listen, I just can't.
She travels there every summer to play basketball. She know the law, and why she got to bring hash back from Russia? She can get the best weed she want right here in the States. Come on now.
Yeah, no, Dwayne.
And I agree. And I was going to say with that, it's one of those things where y'all got to understand these are different countries. Where if you in Israel or somewhere else, they might be chopping off hands, feet, toes, and everything else. So, granted, Russia, they gonna put you lock you up for kind of stuff like this. We see it as being real stupid, but some of these foreign countries, they look at it like this, especially when coming through these airports. Saw people in Jamaica getting pulled real quick for stuff. And it's just like, bro, I would not want to get locked up in anybody other's country. And then with this in Russia, I do feel you, Rebecca. It's one of those things to where, yes, it took some time, and then all of this stuff started happening with Ukraine. So now they feel like, since America, if we want to get involved, hey, we got one of y'all people. Y'all sure y'all want to step in and do anything?
That's right. That's right.
It's not about her being locked up for me, right? Because she could have been locked up for a day or two, whatever. She plays for Russia. That's just. I just feel like in this particular moment, they know she's been bringing stuff. This is my opinion, again, in my opinion only. I feel like they know already. She knows already. It's been years since she's been going there. You think that she brought, even though it's not a big deal to us, the amount of it or what she brought, or because it's a vape, it's not a big deal to us. All of a sudden, it seems to be a big deal for Russia during this time. This is where it's questionable. The fact that they had this girl locked up for weeks and haven't told us. Yeah, she broke the law, but I feel like she is capable of getting her
about to break the law in a few minutes.
She was capable of, she should have the means, especially with her playing for Russia, especially all of that. She should be out. She should not still be locked up on this, right? So I feel like they're over processing the situation because the reasoning because America chose a side. And they literally dropped this news a few days ago when she's been in there for weeks. So I think this is all a tactic. This is all something that they're doing because we're pulling away from Russia. And they're like, well, we have something that you want and we're not going to. We saw what they did, or not that country specifically, but remember when A$AP Rocky was abroad? And he did something and was locked up. And I forgot what it was, but
or something.
Yeah, like and he got locked up, and this is after he made his comments that were anti-black. We still made sure that we were trying to get that boy out from where he was, but he got the support, I think, at the time of the president to get back over here. So it's like, at this particular time, at this particular time, I feel like, she needs the assistance of America. I hope that, our president steps in and gets her. I don't think it's safe for her to be out there, especially during this particular time. I also think that they overdid it. I understand that she broke the law. She could have served a week, a day or two, whatever. We should have been privy of the news as well. But the fact that we weren't, the media kept that from us. And it's dropping right now. I think it's just, you don't think it's suspicious? You don't think it's suspicious?
So yes. I mean, yes, it's suspicious. And let me say this, because I see people in the chat talking about how do we know she's guilty. If in fact this was is a legit charge, you can't really tell other countries how to enforce their laws. Other countries' laws are way different than what we have. A little cartridge of hash might be a huge crime over there. Just like Bubba was saying, some countries you get executed, you get your hands and stuff chopped off. I know I used to live in Japan, and it was a totally different charge. Like, how do I say this without?
God bless America.
They can hold you over there for up to 2 weeks without you even getting a phone call. You can be in jail and nobody even know where you at. So other countries' laws are different. And if in fact she is guilty of this, she can't really blame nobody but herself. But I can't disagree with what you're saying about the timing of the news coming out is a little suspicious. But
yeah, and then I was about to say, then it doesn't help. I ain't gonna say it doesn't help as well. Excuse me, but a few people in the chat are saying, and I know this for a fact too. Russia's real big on basically not liking the LGBTQ community. So
that's right.
They saw her. They already figured. They knew when she was leaving, because I'm sure she had word ahead of time. Like, okay,
that's right.
You need to get out of Russia. And while she was on the way to the airport, they probably saw her and like, yeah, there she is. Let's go ahead and get her. Okay, because we have a few things that we can just maybe plan on her or do whatever it is we need to and use this as a bargaining chip. They already knew what they were doing ahead of time because they knew everything was happening. Now all of a sudden it comes out that she's being locked up for having hash oil. Oh yeah, I think this was all planned out. That's the conspiracy theorist in me coming out. But yeah, I think this was all planned ahead of time.
I'm going to break the law. I'm going to break the law later on today. Some laws should be broken. Russia and while I agree with you, I agree with you, Dwayne. When you're abroad, you better know the laws of the country you're in. I've heard too many horror stories and try to help too many friends to get back. But at the same time, James, when you just brought up the LGBTQ laws there in Russia, like that's just an example. Like, yeah, maybe they are harsh on marijuana oil. They're harsh on the LGBTQIA community. There's a long list of laws. They're harsh on Ukraine right now. There's a whole lot of stuff that Russia does wrong that I'm like, nah, we're not on board with it. I don't care what your law. See, Putin did not care about international law when he stepped into Ukraine. So why should I care about his domestic law? I have no regard for Putin or his regime. They better leave our black sister alone. And I don't think the United States is going to go save her. We're going to have to figure another way out.
Oh yeah, because right now relations are non-existent right now between Russia and America. The embassy's already said that they're not going to be able to do anything. Their hands are tied. So it's just like one of those things. And Rebecca, and my whole thought process is, and I feel you what you said, you would think that after she's been playing with Russia for so long that she has connections from her the coaches, friends, everybody else. That's why I think that this was already something pre-planned, for the simple fact that now Russia has got to those coaches and everybody else, and their hands are tied, but they probably can't do anything for her.
But it could also be the same as the athletes are treated here. The athletes, black athletes here, are just they're just a means to make money off of. So why should it be different over there? She's a high profile athlete over here. Oh, we can bring her over here and she could be like a sideshow. You know what I mean? Bring more people to this. They don't care about her after once she leaves. They don't care about that.
And as soon as she became more valuable to them as a political tool than as a sports tool, they arrested her. I'm sorry. I need to know exactly the amount of hash oil I will learn their laws. Show us what she broke. Give us the itemized. Let's look at it. And then if I don't agree with your laws, then I'm going to say to hell with you. Let her go anyway, because Russia does not recognize anybody else's laws. So F Russia, F Putin, F their justice system. Either they let go of our sister or we're going to have to find some other means to get her out.
Yep. Forget them. I really pray for her, because I can't imagine while this war is going on, while it unraveled, she was behind bars for hash oil, and they were using her as a pawn. And this is, again, what I believe, and I believe that they were using her as a pawn. They couldn't wait to utilize that. And then for her to know that in this particular moment, where she comes from is saying they can't possibly do a thing to assist her. It's very sad. It's very scary. The connections that she built, the connections that she's had, playing for that country, winning for that country, benefiting the country, you would think they would have more grace for her, but they are utilizing their hate, their far right thought process, thinking ways. They're utilizing that, putting that to the forefront and saying it isn't because America, it's because we believe this. But yes, it is also because you believe that. I believe that for sure, that if she's standing in front of a judge as a black, gay person who's American in this particular time, you already know what's up. They're not going to give a damn. And here we are. I feel like having to speak for her and, it sucks. I pray for
Very
her.
much so.
I hope that we continue to get updates on her. I hope they don't shut us out on what's going on with her. I hope they don't shut out her loved ones. We're going to keep on, moving forward with this story for sure, because my heart really bleeds for that girl to be out there in the middle of what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's facts.
So we're at the end of the show. I guess we're not doing after party.
No after party today. We have to get a hard out.
Because our producer got to go. Anyway, there are two clips that I wanted to do. There are two clips that I wanted to go ahead and do for history, Black history. And, Dr. Carl Mack, did he come on this morning? Because I don't know.
Yeah, he was on earlier. He was.
Y'all need to tell him to drop the rest of this, drop the merch. Drop the stuff. But anywho, I'm going to go ahead and do the Women's History for today. That happened, really that was for the weekend, but we'll go ahead and drop it today. So the first one is going to be Leontine Kelly. Do we got that up, Dwayne? I don't know. I'm waiting for you to get it together. There we go. Leontine Kelly. And this right here is a religious women's history. From 1920 to 2012, Leontine Turpo was born on this day in 1920, and that's on March 5th in Washington, D.C. Her daddy, David Turpo Sr., was a Methodist minister and a 4-term Ohio state representative. Her mama, I love the way Dr. Carl Mack writes, her mama, Ela Turpo, was a founder of the Cincinnati Urban League. Leontine enrolled at West Virginia State College, and following the completion of her junior year in 1941, left and married Gloucester Current. They had 3 children and divorced in 1955, meeting United Methodist minister James David Kelly. In 1956, they married and moved to Knoxville, Tennessee. Leontine returned to college and graduated from Virginia Union University, earning a bachelor's in 1960. Following the death of James in 1969, she completed the course of study for ordained ministers in the Virginia Annual Conference by attending Wesley Theological Seminary. 1970, 1971, and 1972, she was ordained in the Methodist Church as a deacon, furthering her studies. Leontine earned her Master of Divinity degree. I didn't even know they had all that. From Union Theological Seminary in Richmond, Virginia, 1976. The following year, because she did a lot, she was ordained an elder. On July 20th, 1984, Leontine Kelly was consecrated as a bishop in the Western jurisdiction of the United Methodist Church. She is, and here is where we are with history, she is the first Black woman to be so honored in any major religious denomination in America. The first Black woman. In 1988, at the age of 68, Bishop Kelly retired. Her life was ordinary, like many women. Leontine pursued her education, married, and had children. Unlike most people, she was extraordinary in her determination and her accomplishments. On June 28, 2012, Bishop Leontine Turpo Kelly met with the Divine One. And that is on March 5th. We're going to go ahead and go into March 6th. Take it a little young shouted. Lauren Simmons, who is a stock trader, look at that face. Lauren Simmons, who is a stock trader, born 1994, still living to this day. Lauren Simmons was born on August 11th, 1994 in Marietta, Georgia, right around the corner up the street. She graduated from Kennesaw State University in 2016 with a bachelor's degree in genetics and a minor in statistics. On this day, March 6th, in 2017, at the tender age of 23, Simmons became the youngest and only full-time female trader at the New York Stock Exchange. And then this is how he wrote it. He put the first Black woman to ever, he put EVAH. That's what he said. He said the first Black woman to ever work as a trader on the floor of the exchange was Gail Pankey Albert. In 1971, there were no more than 5 women on the floor of the exchange, and Pankey Albert was the first and only Black female. So that's before Lauren Simmons. The New York Stock Exchange was founded on May 17th, 1792, which means as of 2021, only 2 Black women have ever, again spelled EVAH, worked on the floor. He says, I'm sure Wall Street will tell the world how much they value diversity. He said again, whatever, and he spelled that WHUTEVAH. According to Simmons, I always say that I don't need many opportunities. I just need one. After I graduated from college, I moved to New York in search of a job. I knew nobody, but I spoke to everyone. Eventually, I found myself talking to Richard Rosenblatt, CEO of Rosenblatt Securities, and he decided to take a chance on me. That's how I ended up on Wall Street and became the youngest female trader in the New York Stock Exchange's history, and only the second African-American woman leaving Wall Street at the end of 2018. She is a keynote speaker, film and TV producer, and in 2020, she started a reality show like Shark Tank entitled Going Public. Shouts out to this beautiful Lauren Simmons. Oh, a young baby making it happen. I'm talking about they out here. History, baby. Love you guys. Mean it. Dr. Carl Mack, drop the good so we can be doing this every day of the week. Women's history, Black women's history, making it happen. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Happy Tuesday. Taco Tuesday. Y'all know what to do. Mwah.
All right, y'all, we appreciate y'all again for tuning in to the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show, man. We greatly appreciate y'all. Y'all make sure y'all keep great today. Have an awesome time. Taco Tuesday, y'all go get some tacos. If y'all want to treat us to some tacos, we'll love that too. But y'all go out and have a great day. And then affirmations for today. Your affirmations for today. Hey, that's a good one. I will be able to look back at this time and be proud of myself. I will be able to look back at this time and be proud of myself. Absolutely, y'all. Y'all go have fun. Y'all do the damn thing. Enjoy your day. Be great. Make somebody smile. Make yourself smile. We will see y'all tomorrow. Let her hack, make me a superhero too.